Do you have any idea how good you look? Katrina giggled. She felt her cheeks flush at her admission. A week had passed since they were at the brook, a week since Tristan revealed to Katrina what he was, a week of bliss as far as Katrina was concerned, a week that was coming to an end as Tristan came to say goodbye before he made his way to Falkirk. It was early morning, just breaking dawn, when Katrina grabbed her shawl and wrapped it around her shoulders against the damp chill of the air that met her, as she slipped away from the house, leaving her sleeping father blissfully unaware of her departure. The sun was no more than a faint glow from the east, casting little light across the moor that was still cloaked heavily in a dense fog as she scurried through. She shivered against the thought of any creature that may be lurking in it. She arrived to find Tristan standing with his back to her next to the large oak tree. He was looking out over the brook, clad in his belted plaid, which was draped over his linen shirt and fastened at his left shoulder. She had never seen him wear it, and she was taken aback at the sight before her. His long muscular legs, bare from the knee down, were exposed to the elements. With his broadsword secured at his side, he was nothing more than a silhouette in the dim light, looking as if he would vanish as the sun rose. Katrina couldn't take her eyes off him. She was still staring at him when he turned at her words.
"I did not know you held such high regard for my backside, Agrai,"
he said, opening his arms to her as she walked over to him, wrapping her arms around him and resting her face against his chest, breathing him in. Linen mixed with his own intoxicating scent. She sighed.
"I will have to commit that to memory."
He smiled into her hair as he placed a kiss on the top of her head. Katrina, smiling, looked up at him, and reaching up on her toes, she placed a tender kiss against his inviting lips. "It is you I hold a high regard for. Your backside is only a part of it." He snorted.
"You are something else, Agrai,"
he said, drawing her back to him, holding her tighter to him.
"I wish I could take you with me."
"Do you really have to go?" she asked into his chest.
"Aye, it's that time of year. The cattle cannot make their way to Falkirk on their own."
"But you are not the only one going. There are many going. Even my father is going with the cattle from Clan Mackenzie."
"Aye, he may be, but many hands will be needed to guard against raiding along the way."
The morning came in a shower of rain. Tristan sat with his group around the remains of their fire. He turned a lump of cheese over in his hands as he chewed on a mouthful of bannock. A straggly, dark-haired man handed him a flask, his face hidden almost completely by a beard and hair that fell in his eyes.
"Have a drink of that, Tristan, lad. That will keep the chill from your bones."
He took the flask gladly, putting it to his mouth. The whiskey burned as it slid down his throat, but almost immediately in its wake, warmth filled him.
"You're much like your father when he was your age. Do you know that, laddie?"
The man said, eyeing him. Tristan smirked at the comparison.
"You knew my father?"
"Aye, I knew him since we were naught but lads ourselves."
They were quiet. Tristan stared down at the lump of cheese that he had absent-mindedly ground between his thumb and forefinger.
"I was there, you know, at Culloden,"
the man said quietly. Tristan kept his eyes downward, grinding the cheese into the palm of his hand.
"I was there when he died."
Tristan looked up at him.
"You are much like him,"
he continued. Tristan shrugged, looking back down at his hand.
"I do not think that I am so."
"Aye, are. You have his mannerisms. You have his spirit. I'm Angus,"
he said, offering his hand. Tristan smiled, shaking it.
"Everyone, out!"
A shout came from across the sea of cattle.
"I will have no of that,"
he yelled, more at the raiders than Tristan.
"Leave it to me, lad. I'll have them sorted out before they realize what's happened."
In a fury, Angus whipped around and withdrew his sword again and barreled through the chaos of the battle in search of his horse. Tristan glanced around in search of his own. He saw him on the edge of the fray, rearing back against one of the raiders that tried to control it and take it. He saw the front hooves kick out, knocking the man to the ground. The horse started to bolt for safety, and Tristan quickly stuck 2 fingers between his lips and let out a high-pitched whistle that rose above the noise of the battle. His horse stopped dead in its tracks and turned towards the sound.
"Hickanua, Gilia, ha operak in Ayanov."